Eloise, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed. What does your role entail?
There's two parts to my role. So the first part is as an educational charity, it was decided, there was a strategic decision that although we've always had an education programme, that programme should be accredited. So we've partnered with the Open College Network, who work in further education, and together we've designed a level 3 qualification for our volunteers, which is nationally accredited. And that has 6 different units which the volunteers sort of study for throughout their 2 years with us. Mm-hmm. So that's the first part. Okay. And then the second part of my role is our Global Citizenship Schools programme, and that really is our volunteers in general are with us for sort of 2 years, from the selection through to fundraising overseas and then debriefing. But it was really felt that when our volunteers come back, they're kind of brimming with enthusiasm and passion for the country and the language and the culture they've just been immersed in. So the Global Citizenship Schools programme is really about sort of sharing that knowledge and widening awareness and horizons within primary and secondary schools across the UK. Mm-hmm. So it can really be up to the individual school as to which country they'd like a return volunteer from and what specific areas of global citizenship they're keen for the return volunteer to share with their students.
So you said primary and secondary. Can you give me an example of, let's say for example, of how a primary school might approach you especially with global citizenship programming line?
Okay. So it tends to be that we would be approached by the school in the first instance. We have quite a strong relationship with schools through our recruitment process, but obviously primary school is slightly different. But it would be a primary school teacher or head teacher approaching us, and for example Inch's primary school approached us saying we're really keen to have our students made aware of they were doing a China specific project, so we sourced 2 return volunteers to go into the school and run kind of basic Mandarin and inspire the students to learn about kind of China. And I think the power of having a young person who's just been living in that culture for a year and who the students can relate to, because it's still, relatively young, 18 or 19-year-old, has had very sort of positive responses from the teachers and head teachers we've been working in. Mm-hmm. And sort of that particular school then asked for a follow-up session. They were interested in kind of Hispanic culture, so they asked for 2 volunteers, one from Bolivia and one from Honduras, again to look at kind of both the culture and then basic Spanish language lessons as well.
Do the volunteers tend to be from locally based or originated from those schools to which they go to? Do you try to do that as much as possible, or just does it really depend?
It really does depend. I mean, because we're an educational charity, as much as we can, it's a free resource for the schools, and we do pay for the transport costs of the volunteers. So for our own, to keep our own costs down, if we have, for example, a request from a school in Aberdeenshire, we try to source a volunteer that's maybe at the University of Aberdeen. But occasionally, the request is so specialised. For example, there was a school down in London that wanted a session on kind of medicine in developing countries, and we've got a couple of very specialised medical-based projects where they're working in, it's an ARV clinic in South Africa, and that volunteer is now studying medicine at Manchester, so we paid for her to travel down to London.
That's very good, yes. The age of the volunteers that you recruit, what age span are we looking at?
So it's 17 to 19-year-olds that we're recruiting, and that's at the time of departure. So they're 17 to 19. Sometimes for the selection process they come up when they're 16, but they have to be 17 to 19 at their time of departure.
And what kind of feedback have you had to date? Well, first of all, maybe I should ask you, how long has the Global Citizenship Programme been running?
Yeah, so we started the pilot phase just over a year ago, and so far we've run just over 50 sessions across the UK. We always get both the return volunteer to fill out an evaluative questionnaire and a member of staff, a teacher or a head teacher, and to date they've all been rated as either good or outstanding, so we're keen to keep that reputation up.
Yes, super, lovely. Thank you very much.